Wow. All right. Apparently, I'm live. Hello, everyone. I'm Doug. Obviously, you're watching It's All Doug in Games. This is the very first live stream I've done on the channel with this whole stream. It's called a StreamYard setup. It seems to be what all the cool kids in class are using these days. So I am trying to get myself acclimated with the same back end technology that everyone else is using. And I want to dabble my toes into the streaming pool. Thinking about giving that a go. Cassandra Hammerstone is here and gives the thumbs up. Well, here's a double Billy Mitchell thumbs up for you, Cassandra Hammerstone. I called and raised you. There we go. Hey, I'm hearing through the grapevine that it's a holiday today. It's New Year's Eve, apparently. I'm told it's tradition to have a beverage. I'm having a glass of a mango juice because mango is a superfood. Yes, all those delicious vitamins and nutrients soaring through me right now, enabling me to do a great job at broadcasting. Tonight, we are going to tackle an interesting subject. Apparently, it's a breaking news story, I guess you could say, of the last day or so. I'm very surprised that few, if any, people have covered this to date. I think I might be, it's possible I may be the only person, at least on YouTube, that has brought light to the story. So I'll continue to do that, and let's see what happens. So as you saw in the title, and admittedly somewhat clickbaity thumbnail, GameStop, everyone's favorite subject. GameStop has apparently made the decision, based on the information I will share with you in a moment, that they're going to close some stores. And you would think that when an employer is going to shut down a part of their company, that you'll get a notice from a human being, your boss, maybe your boss's boss, maybe an HR person, somebody will pull you aside and say, hey, I got some bad news. I'm afraid you're not going to be working here any longer. Well, apparently that's not how it's going down at the old GS or GME. If you want to look at it through the lens of the stock ticker for GameStop, apparently GameStop employees are learning about what's going on through their inventory system. So what do we mean by that? Well, let's go ahead and get right to it here. So according to a tweet on Cheap Ass Gamer's account, GameStop employees need to check what inventory is coming in to see if their store is closing. Several are expected to close soon. So the tweet is accompanied by what appears to be a screenshot of the GameStop point of sale systems. They're kind of like the computer in their cash register that allows them to see all sorts of GameStop information, including but not limited to what things are going to be coming into the store soon. So are we getting a new shipment of that whiz-bang game that everyone wants? Are we getting some more Funko Pops? Yes. Oh, I hope we get more Funko Pops. So on and so forth. And apparently, if you are an unlucky store, you will see, or perhaps might see, in this screen that tells you what upcoming things you're going to get, something called a store closing kit. And I did check. There is not a new game coming out called Store Closing Kit. Although I suppose someone at some point, somebody developer on principle, is going to probably put some really cheap asset flip Unity game out in the coming days or weeks called Store Closing Kit. That would be quite the troll. But you know, I'm kind of almost expecting to see that pop up at some point. But anyway, so yeah, GameStop employees have reported that this is happening. Now, looking at the tweet itself, you know, there's some conversation. Apparently, someone has a picture of the assemblage of boxes that you receive if you are an unlucky GameStop store. That's quite a lot of boxes. I'm assuming the idea here is that they're expecting these soon to be departed employees to put all of the games in boxes to send back to the central nervous system of GameStop. Various conversation, and obviously there's going to be a lot of memes here. Some of them are empathetic, some of them are obnoxious, but so on and so forth. Lots of angry conversation. Again, lots of memes, things of that nature going on. But as you can see, again, the crux of this is that GameStop is closing stores. We don't know exactly how many stores are closing. What we do know is that apparently the way you find out if you're a GameStop employee, at least for the time being, and we'll get into that in a bit because there's a little more to it. I'll expand on that in just a moment. Is you go into your what inventory is coming in. Some stores may have already received the boxes, so all I can say is yikes on that. Now, there's some other supporting information on this. It wasn't just the story isn't just based on this simple tweet. I'll bring you next to the GameStop subreddit, which if you've not been tuned into it, the GameStop subreddit is a pretty reliable source of information about internal goings on at GameStop, chit chat amongst GameStop employees. It is moderated by, I believe, validated and actual real GameStop employees. So stuff as salacious as this wouldn't be expected to last on here without being moderated or removed. So when you see a flood of messages about this subject pop up in the last 24 hours as they have, you can kind of feel like, yeah, this is probably going to be the real thing here that we're talking about. So here's a user a couple hours ago who posted the message, "My store is likely getting closed. It seems targeted. So yesterday we received the boxes and packages. Again, this store closing kit. And from other stores that have closed, it's clear they're not regular boxes and the precursor to the end. The problem, besides the obvious that we were a successful store that was led to its death by one simple action, never, I don't know if I can expand that out. Let's see. Let's look at the comments. View, yes. Please view the content, I suppose. Yeah. Never getting supply. Like any all this year, we had top reservations in the region, constantly top 300 there, hit and exceed every metric until suddenly we just stopped getting supplied with stuff. The pre-orders never arrived, even though pre-ordered early enough. Hold on. Wait, I get my cursor in the right place. Just getting a little used to how this works. There we go. Where was I? The pre-orders never arrived. Sell through consoles and accessories, top of the district, but they just stopped sending stuff. Our rent rate, our strip mall, still in the green. Profit and loss, mostly green. We're profitable, even skated past the holiday season, the top half. Despite literally having nothing to sell, we haven't had any GTA, Call of Duty, Madden, 2K throughout the holidays. I guess those are the big things that everyone needs. But still doing good for the stores in our district that have been closed due to short staff that aren't going to close in this wave. Kept us open until this. So, wow. Okay. So some lamenting there. What do these boxes and packages look like? Again, and apparently someone has another picture here of, what this looks like. You just, I guess, get a whole bunch of boxes to pack all your stuff in. People communicating back and forth. What you're missing is, does the lease renewal look like? Renewal lease rate that doubles your store's current rent will get you. Yeah, that's true. So there's, chat about what they plan on doing in terms of strategy. Another store just received the boxes today. Nearby stores receiving boxes with game cases. Key holders are asking questions. I can't break the news over text. I'll do it in person later this week. Yeah, so here's the thing. Going through these, I did notice, and maybe we'll see this in a bit. apparently management is being extremely tight-lipped about the situation. There's going to be multiple things that we see here where the district managers, which so you have employees in a store and a store manager, then you have a district manager, which is kind of like the store manager of a group of stores. Apparently, according to what's being observed here, is that they have been sworn to secrecy for fear of losing their jobs. And again, hopefully, we will start breaking the news come Thursday. I've seen multiple people here that purport to be either management or close to management have stated that, again, the district managers have been threatened not to say anything about these closures until Thursday. So it is still, it's the end of Tuesday, so it's about a day and change until the official news can break about this. But again, I think that, here's the way I look at this, and here's why I think that this is an important story worth covering here. Most of these management are on vacation until Thursday. That's right. A lot of people taking the 31st and the 1st off. I think that this is kind of horrible because it's one thing to decide that you're going to close any number of stores. And it's one thing to say from a management level that you're going to make the decision here to go ahead and hold on. There we go. It's one thing to make the decision that you're going to go ahead and keep it tight-lipped. You don't want to ruin your employees' holidays. I think most people can reasonably agree that you kind of consider the holiday season, whichever tradition you particularly choose to observe. I think most people feel that you would consider the holiday season to run through the New Year's. So I don't draw much of a line of distinction between employees being told that they're losing their jobs on the 30th, 31st, as opposed to being told on the 23rd, 24th, or 25th. It's the holidays. And I think there's a certain kind of cruelty to having a scenario where you did this in such a clumsy way that your employees are effectively being given their notice during the holiday season. I mean, New Year's Eve, for goodness sakes. That's just wrong. And I think this is going to be an interesting situation to follow. Again, based on what I'm seeing, again, through the GameStop Reddit, it feels like it's probably going to be a pretty decent amount of stores. I can't confirm anything, but the sense I know in one thread, it was talking about how a store in each district potentially was being shut down. So that could be, maybe a high single-digit percentage of all the stores being brought to closure. So there's a lot here. A lot of people are going to lose their jobs. I imagine this isn't going to be, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a stock guy. I can't imagine this is going to be great for the GME stock. For those of you who, there's so many people who are invested in that and for better or worse, made the decision to put a lot in there. I can't imagine this is a positive event for the company. But again, I'm not a stock guy. I'm a video game nerd. So maybe the stock will go up. I think that people who are invested in the company should definitely be aware of this information to decide for yourselves whether you think this will be positive or negative for the GME stock price and make preparations accordingly. Because I suspect what's going to happen here is on Thursday, when the general public gets wind of this, it's going to be very interesting to see how things go in a general sense. So, I mean, there you go. So, GameStop is, I imagine there's going to be some interesting, maybe some store closing sales. So for those of you who look at this from the camera angle of deal hunting, I imagine that they aren't necessarily going to just take all the inventory and send it back to corporate. I imagine there may be some opportunities where they do some store closing sales. So that could be something to keep in mind. But I think to be human here about this, I think our thoughts should be going out to the affected employees of GameStop before we start getting all excited, putting our Scrooge McDuck hats on and saying, "Oh, I'm going to get some bargains on some tender tapes to flip." Well, that could be true. I think we should try and be somewhat human about it. So I guess I would beg anyone who's thinking about that to just be human about this. Don't go running into your stores Thursday and asking for deals on everything while you're staring down people that are scared, terrified, don't know what they're going to do next with their lives. Come on, be cool about it. Maybe you can help people out. I mean, I imagine they're probably going to be an idea that this just came to my mind now thinking about this. I know a lot of people love store fixtures, and I know they're worth a lot of money. And so maybe if you want to do something solid and have some good karma, go to your local GameStop employee, instead of just asking for them for free because they're closing, throw them a few bucks, throw them a 50, throw them $100 bill. That eventually anything like that you're going to eventually try to flip. Come on, be honest. Don't sit there pretending like, oh, I'm going to keep it forever. Oh, yes. No, of course you're not. No, you're going to sell it. So do them a solid, hook them up a little bit. I imagine there's probably going to be a significant number of Switch kiosks that seem to disappear into the night over the coming days and weeks. I will confess that temporarily for a few months I had one in my collection, and then it found a new home. But there's going to be a lot of that going on. So, be cool. I mean, I think karma is a thing. I wouldn't necessarily call myself super religious per se, but I think karma is a thing. And the golden rule applies. So be kind to your outgoing GameStop pros. Don't go in and badgering them about when they're going to close. I know that there's going to be, it already makes me kind of like cringe a little. I know there's going to be some content creators that are going to try and do things like go into GameStop stores with their freaking cameras and try to get live reactions like, hey, did you hear you're going out of business? How many other stores are closing? And you know what? Please don't do that. Like, really, just don't do that. That's not cool. That's not cool. I get it. Y'all in a race to get clicks and attention and engagement. But yeah, not sure. My GameStop stores were raging. Oh, I'm testing something out, by the way. So hold on. Oh, look at that. That's cool. Not sure you were the first person to have a comment highlighted on my new StreamYard software. My GameStop stores were raging with customers. Raging is a fantastic verb to use here. And I'm wondering to myself, are we talking about raging as in like 100 Karens angry because they were out of Call of Duty Shoot-A-Man or Pokemon Opaque or whatever's out there now, the little Rugrats and Rapscallions need? Or was it like raging like the raging waters of a ferocious waterfall, scampering around delightfully, enjoying their New Year's Eve, purchasing Pokemon cards and Funko Pops and cheaply produced shoulder to shoulder. Okay, thank you. Thank you for the correction. It was their little stores. Yes, some of those GameStops are quite small. I used to live, I'm a Floridian. Everyone knows that. There's nothing doxing to me about that. But I used to live in a different part of Florida than I do now. And we had a very small GameStop. A lot of them are in strip malls. And it is in something I know they still do this. I'm pretty sure they still do. But there were midnight openings for consoles and big game releases and stuff. And I remember, gosh, what was it? I want to say I feel like it was the Nintendo Switch release. We had a midnight thing where you pre-ordered it and you had to go, and oh my goodness, the local fire chief must have been just absolutely like apoplectic. By the way, how many gaming YouTubers have you seen using the word apoplectic on a regular basis? I got to hang my hat on something here. Yeah, it's just darn near a fire hazard. And of course, I also know that during the Christmas holiday season, they used to, I don't know if they do anymore, they would rearrange the store so that there was like a maze line to get to the checkout counters, and it just made navigating the whole thing like if you were even the least bit what's the word I'm looking for, afraid of small spaces, it wasn't a good deal. But yeah, exactly. So it's going to be interesting to see if you are watching and you are from a store that's closing or you're familiar with one. If you feel comfortable, letting us know in the chat. Claustrophobic. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Claustrophobic. Of course, I certainly wouldn't want to feel like I was strong arming anyone to provide information that they feel they would not be comfortable providing. But if you're familiar with a store that's closing, feel free to let us know what's going on there. Is everyone okay? I'm curious to see. I'm sure we're going to get some more information in the next day or two in terms of when we expect this to obviously, if they're sending boxes, it's soon, but I mean, talking about days, weeks, months, something like that. I know a lot of GameStops, the strategy was, and I think there still is a lot of them there. You'll find that a lot of GameStops are located in malls that have Walmarts or adjacent to Walmarts. And I imagine this could be a thing, it was mentioned in one of those threads we looked at earlier in the stream. I imagine that the real estate, the rents, the leases continue to rise and perhaps have created scenarios where it's not feasible to run really any kind of retail, I guess, in a lot of places. So I know that this isn't all just like GameStop's business model is obsolete. It has to change. I mean, that's for sure. I've talked about in videos on my channel and made reference to the imminent, I think, demise of physical media. And I still believe that's continuing, and that's going to be here completely within, I don't know, 3 to 5 years, maybe. I mentioned I did a predictions episode dropped yesterday or the day before. And one of the things I said was, I think that we're probably in the maybe second to last console generation with physical media as a component. And once you get there, GameStop is either going to be a retro game store. For many reasons, I don't think they can do that. Or they're going to have to be kind of a place that has some older video games and a lot of collectibles and silly little trinkets, a silly little trinket store, sort of like maybe a somewhat more tech savvy Hot Topic. But I don't think in any given shopping mall in 2025 you have room for more than one Hot Topic type store. I don't think that that's realistic. So I don't know what the future holds for GameStop, regardless of their ability or inability to have any kind of coherent management of said stores. I do think also that if it weren't for GME, the stock tick, if it weren't for GME being, and I'll just come out and say it, whether it makes people uncomfortable or unhappy, a meme stock, I'm not convinced they'd be here today. I mean, they were in some pretty bad shape a few years back until, the internet decided it was going to, go full ham on basically, trading the stock to see for fun and interesting scientific purposes. I don't want to say manipulation, because I don't know that that's smart to just say that if I can't prove it in a court of law. But obviously the internet caused en masse the value of the GameStop stock for no concrete reason to go skyrocketing. And I suspect that perhaps that kind of helped kept it afloat to some degree for the last few years. But I don't think that in those last few years, they've necessarily done a great job of improving their operations per se. I can't point to a single thing that they've done that's like, oh yeah, that's going to make them a more viable business in the long term. But of course, having said all that, like I said, I circle back to my original point that I really think that it's extremely unfortunate and could absolutely have been avoidable. The situation that we're at now, where these GameStop employees are finding out that their jobs are eventually going away due to a notification that they're getting a store closing kit. This should have been handled better. Obviously, they should not have been sending these kits out until after everyone has been informed of what's going on, and the list of what stores are going to be closing have been published. It should have been as simple as holding that particular logistical operation for a week or so, and then clicking the buttons and sending these things out. I really don't think that would have been very difficult. I think that this is I'll try to be super fair here. I will not necessarily say that this was an act of malice, that someone in the C-suite was just like, we're going to show them, we're going to really make their holidays terrible. I think that was incompetence. That those who are coordinating this, that's an act of incompetence, because I don't think that anyone in their right mind would have thought that creating a scenario knowingly where folks are going to find out about their fate in this way, to find out whether it's on a screen or to find out from the internet, to see, cheap ass gamers tweet, or to find out on your company's, subreddit that your goose is about to be cooked. I don't think anyone in their right mind would say that was the right thing to do. So I don't think that this was malice. I think that this was incompetence. But nonetheless, at the end of the day, do you really draw a distinction between how wrong it is in terms of the end result to the people that are affected? I don't think I do. So there you go. And now we're at the place that we're at. So I mean, there you go. GameStop, again, very interesting to see what happens to their stock price on Thursday. Be interesting. I'm sure that I will predict that there's going to be a significant flood of YouTubers, obviously much larger than myself, who are going to pick up this story either tomorrow or Thursday, and all the heavy hitter content creators. I'll be curious to see what their reactions are. I imagine that they're going to be mostly negative. And here's the thing. It may not be in my best interest to say this, but I'll say it in the interest of just being very honest to a fault here. If you're a big content creator, you are going to make more money by raging and getting furious and throwing sticks and stones at GameStop than you are being calm and level-headed and talking through the situation. Rage in video game content is money. Red equals green, as they say in the wrestling business. Blood equals money. I said it I mentioned this in my 2025 predictions stream. Again, you can check it out on my channel. I mentioned this, that content creators are incentivized to be angry and scream and shout and use a lot of curse words, bang their shoes on the table, and stir up the proverbial crap, because people watch it, people engage with it, and it's money. The longer you watch any content creator, the more ads you get presented, the more money those creators get. So I don't think you're going to get a very reasoned, calm coverage of this event. I think you're going to get a lot of thumbnails with flames in the background. I think we all know which content creator I'm talking about. Lots of thumbnails with flames in the background. Lots of all sorts of noise. People respond more to negativity than positivity. 100%. And I mean, I'm not gonna name names. So I'm not looking for a YouTube feud tonight. But I've seen recently, let's say, video game space content creators that I never in a million years would have said this person is going to start making angry videos, who has made a couple of angry videos in the last few days and has gotten like multiples of who's gotten hits that are like 5 to 6 times more than what that creator typically gets, which obviously sends a message. And that's where you see channels pivot. You see channels pivot at that point, and it's kind of interesting to see. So again, like I said, I think there's a way to be interesting, funny, witty, pithy, without being you could say, hey, I'm aggrieved at GameStop's business practices without cutting an Ultimate Warrior promo. If you're thinking of painting your face, you're probably going too far. That's some free advice to any of my fellow content creators that stumble on this. If you're thinking of painting your face, you're probably going too far. So that's what I got here. I didn't have hours and hours of content. I wanted to spend at least a nice half hour with everyone, just chatting about the current situation. I will tell you a few other things here. I enjoy this. I do enjoy this format. I am excited about bringing some more topics, pulling them together, and streaming on a more frequent basis. I hope that if you're watching this and you've had some enjoyment out of it, give me a little, oh, what do we got here? Hold on. Who is causing GameStop company downfall? Well, there's a lot to that because I can. I don't think that it's a single person that's causing GameStop's downfall. I think it's a combination of a number of things. The demand for physical media is going down. I don't think that you can have a company thrive on just selling Funko Pops and T-shirts and Hello Kitty toasters. Sorry, Hello Kitty fans. Much love, but I just don't think that that's a viable business model. So, is the decline of things to sell go, so goes that. I don't think GameStop can compete in the retro gaming space. There's a lot of reasons for that. And maybe we'll do a whole stream breaking all that down because there's a lot to unpack on that. But I don't think GameStop, the internet is competing as well with GameStop, right? I mean, if you want to buy a video game, you can get in your car, go down to your local Walmart strip mall and pick up whatever, or you can go on eBay. You can go on Whatnot. You can go on any number of places now to buy the game, maybe sometimes even cheaper. Free shipping, Amazon. So, GameStop is being attacked from all sides. They're not doing themselves any favors by having, in my opinion, some pretty poor management at the top. I'm not talking about individual stores because I've seen plenty of GameStops with really good individual employees that do their best to work with what they've got. So because I think the short answer is it's a lot of reasons, an imperfect storm of bad market conditions. But I still think that, having said all that, they did a terrible job of rolling out this particular wave of store closings. So I hope that answers your question. I hope you feel that you've got something out of that. I was just rambling incoherently at you. But thank you for the question. And that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that we can build a fun little community in chat here to go back and forth and talk about these things. Like I said, I enjoy this a lot. I think I'm pretty good at keeping a conversation going. I want to give this a go and on a regular basis on It's All Doug in Games here, doing a live conversation about the topics of the day. I just brought this one up just to kind of dip my feet in the pool, make sure my tech works properly. I think the future everybody will be on their virtual reality headsets attached to Tesla robots that go everywhere in the outside world. I got to tell you, I can't say I necessarily disagree with that. I think virtual reality has not gotten it hasn't had the best 1.0. I think we're still in the first generation of VR tech, to be perfectly honest. But that doesn't mean it's not going to become ubiquitous at some point. I think we're maybe 5 or 10 more years of working out the kinks. But look, we live in a more and more disconnected world every day. When you think about virtual reality, think about this for a second. Virtual reality, I think, is more than just the audio visual experience where you put on a set of goggles and you're kind of, you're seeing a made up world and you're hearing the sounds. I think at the same time, the concept of virtual reality extends to virtual interactions you have with other people. I mean, it just came out in the news. I know Charlie did a huge video about it, and everyone's talking about on YouTube where Facebook basically acknowledged that they're going to be flooding the Facebook platform with AI created accounts that are going to basically pretend to be people and, shit post and react and try to be your friends and get your friend list. And that's virtual. That's kind of a virtual thing. So whether you got goggles or not, you're going to be in the virtual reality within a few years. But I think you were to the point really kind of talking mostly about the technology aspect. And I agree that's coming too. But even before then, we're going to be stuck in that, whether we like it or not. And I think being able to discern who's really real and who's not is going to be a skill set everyone's going to have to get really good at if they're not at already. And I think maybe that's one of the reasons why I like the idea of streaming. I want to try and see, make sure I can convince you now that I'm not actually an AI created thing. I'm not, by the way. But again, if I was, I'd probably say that too, right? Mm-hmm. But I am not. But I think that, in the online space, having these like online streams and stuff is going to be kind of an important social thing in terms of being able to know, well, at least I have some sense of feeling that, I'm having interactions with an actual human being, talking back and forth. It's going to be kind of an interesting thing. Matrix within Matrix, that's an interesting way to put it, right? The AI bots, and then you're also got the VR goggles on. That's a very interesting way to put it. In your own opinion, why does the GameStop price continue to go up for the year? All right. So here, that's an interesting question. So I think that, and I said this earlier, so they're going to close a bunch of stores, but I'm not going to say that I'm confident which direction that's going to point the GameStop stock. You could make the case that, well, that's going to kill the value of the GameStop stock. But if people see this not as a bad thing, but as a cost-cutting measure, they might be more interested in the stock. Here's a leaner, meaner company. They're operating on a less cost, closing these stores. So even though GameStop has been continuing to kind of shrink down different things throughout the year, to take a swing at your question, maybe it's going up because people aren't seeing it as a bad thing, all the downsizing, but seeing it as cutting costs. From my perspective, I'm not invested I don't own any GME. I don't intend on buying any GME. I see it as too speculative, like a gambling, thing. Not interested. I'm a gamer, so my interest in GameStop start and stops at the whatever convenience they can offer to me, someone that wants to buy games. So I'm bummed if my local GameStop closes, right? It's one less option I have. But again, I think that there's different people going to look at this from different camera angles. So, I mean, there's that. But that's it's an interesting question to raise. I think it's an important one. So, again, if you are invested in GME, just because we're finding out here that these stores are about to close doesn't necessarily mean that you should buy or sell the stock. You should make it your own, decision, your own independent decision on this, as to how you'd react to it. So, I mean, there you go. Like I said, I think this is cool. I enjoy the fact that we've got a little group here that has formed around this. This is just first stream, no advertising, no nothing, just kind of a walk-up crowd. I think that's super cool. Thank you so much for joining in the conversation. Everyone that wants to, feel free. If you enjoyed this, I mean, I can't tell you to do anything you don't want to do, but if you hit the subscribe button, you'll know when we go live again next. And I do plan on doing this on a fairly frequent basis. I'm hoping we could build something here, like topical gaming related issues. Could be anything on any day. Could be GameStop. Could be a new game that's coming out. A topic germane to video game collecting, buying, selling. All that good stuff. Some commentary. I do like to comment on things, but I try to keep it interesting, but not overbearing. I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to carve a niche. I'm probably going to hear about it if it's the wrong pronunciation. Buying stocks or crypto is just like gambling, knowing when to fold. Yeah. I don't argue with that. I look at it maybe a little bit differently though. I'll hold my tongue on stocks because I don't know enough about the stock market, and I don't think I can reasonably comment. As far as the crypto stuff goes, I'll carve out begrudgingly an exception to Bitcoin when I talk about crypto. Everything outside of Bitcoin, maybe Ethereum as well. I feel like what I would say is, in terms of crypto, an old saying from the game of poker. If you've ever played poker, familiar with it, I'm sure everyone's seen it on TV. I used to play a lot of poker, and there's an old saying that was a truism that people would pass down as people were learning the game and the ins and outs and the intangibles. And one of the most important sayings in poker was this: if you sit down at a poker table and you can't identify who the sucker is, you're the sucker. And so what I mean by that is, in this crypto stuff, again, I'll accept Bitcoin and Ethereum from this. Everything else, so some people call them shit coins, altcoins, speculative coins. I've yet to see one that wasn't basically a rug pull or something that the insiders to that coin had really complete control to manipulate the market, such that if you think you're going to be the one that makes all the money, you are highly unlikely to. There will be some extreme outliers, but in the long term, you will not beat the altcoin market in the long term unless you are the one creating the altcoins and selling yours when they pop off. So is a player in the game? No. Or put otherwise, the casino wins, not the people going into the casino. So just leaving that out there. Why stocks or crypto do you have, and why do you like it? I don't play in the crypto space, so I can't comment on that. I have dabbled a little bit. No, dabble is the wrong word. All right. You want to hear a story? You want to hear a quick story? This is going to make your toes curl. This is going to make the hair on your arms stand up, and you're gonna be left like deflated, and it didn't even happen to you. I do not currently have any Bitcoin. I wish I did. I certainly wish I did, but I don't. I did, however, have Bitcoin. Bitcoin came onto the scene back about 11, 12, 13 years ago at this point. And back in, I want to say 2013, 2014, I played a lot of poker on the internet. A lot of people played poker on the internet. It was before the government came cracking down on it, and it became this huge, terrible, horrible thing that had to be banned everywhere in the United States. I played a lot of poker on the internet, and I was quite good at it, and I made quite a lot of money doing it. And at that time, the value of a Bitcoin was like somewhere between $1, $2 tops, usually floating around $1, maybe $1.25. And Bitcoin became popular among people playing poker on the internet because it was easier to settle up and so on and so forth. It was still obnoxious dealing with banks and credit card processors and all that for the poker stuff. So it was a very convenient way, right, to handle the financials of it. Now, I know today a Bitcoin is worth what? Let me look it up here. Hold on. Let me. I don't want to just pull it out of my ass because I honestly don't know. Let me look it up. What? 302. Let's see here. BTC value, PTC price. So right now, $93,000. We'll just round it down. $93,000 for a Bitcoin. Back in the very, 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 very early days of Bitcoin, I would play games where the antes were 50, 100, meaning 50 units and 100 units in the small and the big blind. So we would play a game like Nolan Hold'em. And the mid to lower high stakes game, you would have 1,000 or 1,500 betting units. So it'd be the equivalent today. If you were playing $2, $5 Nolan Hold'em, you had about $1,500 in front of you. It's a mid-level game. So I was playing those on the internet, and my average stack size would be about 1,000 Bitcoins. Each Bitcoin is worth close to $100,000 now. So that would be about $100 million. I was playing seated with an average adjusted to today with $100 million in front of me. And I thought nothing of it. And I eventually got tired of playing poker online because I had a lot of other things in the frying pan I was doing. And I just decided when I stepped away for a bit to cash out my Bitcoin. And I cashed them out because Bitcoin got big. I sold my Bitcoins for a whopping $6 a piece. And I thought I was like the baron of Bitcoin. Not to get political, and I'm not trying to get, I thought I was the Donald Trump of Bitcoin. I made a 600% profit. So I had probably had about, I had, when they were about $1 a piece, I probably had about $2,000 worth of Bitcoins. And my goodness, I sold them for like 12,000. And I that's it. I thought I was going to retire. I was like, that's it. I did it. I had 6,000 Bitcoins. I'm sorry, I had 1,000 Bitcoins rather. And I sold them for $6 a piece. So maybe you can make the case that there's a little nagging resentment in my life about the Bitcoin stuff. I legitimately did not have the presence of mind to just store a few away. I honestly believed it with all of my heart that this was a fad. And here's what you got to understand. No one thought that it was ever getting to $10 or $6 or how it was like 6 to 10. And I sold it at 6. It like tiptoed at 10 for like 30 seconds, like a few times. No one thought that this was more than a fad. And you'd be crazy not to get out at that point. And most people did. But here's the thing. It legitimately doesn't bother me anymore because that wasn't the path I was meant for. It wasn't the path I was meant for. And I'm not trying to get spiritual here on an Assaulting Game stream, but you get what you're ready for. And you're not given what you're not ready for. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it like, boy, what could have been? But you know what? That's not the way to look at it. Maybe I bought maybe there's an alternate universe where I ended up with the 100 million. I bought a private jet and then I got kidnapped for ransom and then thrown into a volcano because, I can't finish that sentence. It gets into something I can't say. But in my mind, there's a funny end to that sentence. Maybe I should put a Patreon for that. A previous person involved in my life would have said, no, you can keep it. I'll just leave it at that. And then I get thrown into a volcano. So it's like, you know what? You can't look at it like that. I would have probably been too young for that sort of responsibility. And it could have been bad. So I'm not, and the thing is, when the time comes where the world decides I'm ready for that, I'll have it, but not a moment sooner. So I can honestly tell you, it's a horror story. I know that anyone listening to that is freaked out, but it is what it is. I think that it's a testament to me being strong, that I'm still here. It didn't drive me completely crazy. It was definitely annoying to watch over the years the slow rise of Bitcoin. Sorry, something's making me sniffly. Bad stories make me sniffly. I'm allergic to it. But it is what it is. Like you can't. I'm not currently with access to time travel technology. There's a completely different topic we could get into. I believe that time travel exists, but I also believe I don't have access to it because otherwise I'd have 1,000 Bitcoin right now, and I don't. If I had 1,000 Bitcoin, I'd probably still be doing the stream, but the production value would be way bigger. I would have, I'd have like a little, like the talk shows have like a little band. I'd have Mr. Beast is my band leader, and Aerosmith, but cryogenically frozen Aerosmith to keep them put at like 75. And I mean degrees, I mean years. I mean, no one wants 90-year-old Aerosmith. So, I mean, what are you going to do, right? What do we got here? I know somebody had millions of dollars worth of crypto, but never sold out until it got down to a few thousand. Well, I mean, it sounds like they probably then still did pretty good. So that's a good thing to see. That's a good thing to see. RJ, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Good to see you. At least you didn't know. Yeah, well, at the time I didn't know. Sure, right. And that's a great way to frame that, right? That's a great way to frame that. At the time, I thought I got out at the top, and I was on the moon for a long time. That was basically a down payment on a car for me. Or no, I mean, I say down payment like one of those things where you ended up putting like half the price of the car down. So that was a big deal for me. That was a really big deal. Which seal game find was your best find? Which game did you sell that you made you most bank? Oh, okay. I like gaming questions. I'll entertain that. Sealed games. Sealed games that I've found. I haven't found a lot of sealed games though. I've found a lot of games in the wild, and I've got a lot of amazing pickup stories. And I'll do a dedicated stream talking about my favorite pickup streams. I'll give you one if you want. Well, whet your appetite. I'll whet your appetite. Hold on. Let me turn around here for a second. Here, hold on. This will make this. I have a graphic. I'm new at this, so please be gentle. Be gentle. I have a graphic. Oh, hold on. Give me 1 second. Are you enjoying the stream? All right, there we go. Sorry, but thank you for your patience. Quick story. This is Chase the Chuck Wagon. So I got it graded. This is one of the rarest games for the old Atari video game system. They did not sell this game in stores. It was a mail order game. You had to send in proofs of purchases from Chase the Chuck Wagon dog food to Purina, and they would send you this game in the mail. And go ahead, try to find one. You can't go on eBay. There's always one or two copies there, but try to find one of those in the wild in the box. Let me know a couple of years from now how you did with that. Long story short, I was on Facebook Marketplace. My girlfriend and I were out taking a drive, and I was on Facebook Marketplace. And sometimes Facebook Marketplace screws up and it shows you stuff that's like not in your area at all. So in this case, there was a lot of Atari stuff, and there was like just a whole bunch of boxes laid out. And in the top right corner, like barely in the frame, like it would be like this. It would be like here's the picture, and like up in the tiny corner like this was silver. And I'm like, what Atari games do I know in a silver box? And I screenshotted it and zoomed in, and sure enough, you could see like the part of the chuck wagon in the left. It was like only a few pixels. Like you had to know. So these guys were selling an Atari lot with a box Chase the Chuck Wagon. It was like $400 for everything. An Atari and like 30 box games. That without the Chuck Wagon, that would have been a decent price. I was getting a free Chase the Chuck Wagon. So then I looked, I was assuming, okay, I'm going to ask my girlfriend if we can kind of like take a side trip here, go to wherever this place is. That would have been cool. But I realized that this destination was 3 hours away in the opposite direction of where we were going, and we were already 2 hours away from home. So this is an interesting conversation, but let me be very clear. I am the luckiest man in the world. I have the greatest girlfriend in the world that you'll never find a better one, because she saw the excitement in my eyes and she was like, let's do it. Let's do it. This is a once in a lifetime find. And I can never tell you, like, guys, girls, it's 2025. You find a partner that supports you like that. There you go. You're set. And I mean, I would do the same thing for her. I mean, if she found something that she needed that was up there, I would be like, whatever we're doing, let's do it. That's key to a successful relationship, is you're invested in each other's success. And I like to think I am in hers as well. But anyway, this is not Valentine's Day. I know. You guys want video game content? I'll keep it to the game content. So we do a switcheroo. I get on the phone with the seller and I'm like begging, like, look, I know we're 3 hours away, but I really would like this for my collection. And I've got cash, will you meet me? I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. Now I'm terrified, because it's not about the seller. It's about the fact that I know that other people are going to see this, and I'm 3 hours away. So there's 3 hours for anybody else to do what's called the back door, to backdoor my sale, basically saying, hey, see that? Whatever schlub was you hold it for, I'll pay $800. I'll pay $1,000. Because quite frankly, in the condition this was, the game itself is $1,500 game. Forget the other stuff in the ad. So my concern was that I was going to get there. We were going to basically call off our entire day trip plan, go 3 hours in the other direction, and I was going to show up, and there was going to be a line of reseller bozos, and we were going to have an auction in the parking lot of an Arby's. That's what I was concerned. Or I was just going to be told that someone else came to my house and bought it, backed up the Brinks truck. Don't waste your time. So the whole 3 hours, I was just like doing one of these. I was like, I was doing one of these. Holding on to, in a car, you have the old shit bar, like over the mirror, the old shit bar. I was holding on to that. We finally get there at the designated, it was a parking lot of some fast food place. I forget which. And I'm nervous as all get out. And I see a vehicle roll up fitting the description. And sure enough, they showed up. They showed up and they honored the price. See, here's the thing. I said, thank you for showing up. I was hoping that things wouldn't go sideways. And they said, yeah, many people messaged me and told me that you were ripping me off, which I think is bullshit, because I didn't set the price. The seller set the price. I agreed to it. It's not my job to price your items. But you had a lot of quote unquote white knights coming in and saying, this game is worth this. I'll pay you this. And to their credit, they honored the deal. They showed up and everything was there, including the Chase the Chuck Wagon. So one of my favorite all-time pickup stories, and definitely reasonably sure a keeper, unless someone offers me a really crazy offer for it because I have some other collecting goals in 2025 that I might consider. Letting this go for if it went towards those goals. RJ got a copy of Tengen Tetris today. Fantastic. Was that a Whatnot purchase or somewhere else? Always good. RJ is one of the finest Tengen Tetris players. You'll see. Look up RJ's YouTube channel. I know RJ streams Tengen Tetris from time to time, so definitely check that out. This is insane. I'm not sure if the story or my crypto story were insane, but it's all insane. I'm a little insane. I hope you get to like that, and perhaps you'll come back for some more insane stories, because brother, we're just tipping. We're just on the tip here. You're just getting a little of the tip. Do I have some stories? I've been doing this for a long time. A minute away from 9 p.m. Okay, so RJ, thank you for joining me. I know you're about to depart and go stream some Tengen Tetris. So after we're done here, I'll invite you to go check RJ out. He is super, super cool with the Tetris. So there you go. So there's a pickup story. Like I said, I will absolutely be happy to work in more pickup stories. I have a extensive Atari and NES collection. I am trying to complete a complete and box NES set. I know that that's insane, but that's what I do. Been at this for a long time. So I have a 2025 goal. I do want to add 2 of the heaviest titles in the set. I want to get other stuff, but one way or the other, I'm going to get. My goal is during the year 2025 to get a boxed Little Samson and a boxed Donkey Kong Jr. Math, the US version, the NTSC version. I recently acquired a PAL boxed Donkey Kong Jr. Math, the Spanish version, but I will eventually offer that for sale towards what I will need to spend to get a Donkey Kong Jr. Math. So that's something that'll be covered on my channel as well. I'll probably offer it on Whatnot. I do sell on Whatnot from time to time as well. So that'll be a factor, but that's a collecting goal for 2025. So it should be very interesting. I think I have I feel like I've got some pretty cool content in the pipeline. Don't pigeonhole me into one little thing. I do a lot of different stuff on this channel. That's all gaming adjacent. A lot of it is kind of retro gaming adjacent because that's what I'm into. I'm into NES. I'm into Atari. I am very, very deep down the Atari rabbit hole. And that's the other thing. The other collecting goal I have, I've got you can't see it from here. I am only a few games away from having all of these Sears branded Atari games. And there's a couple that are beyond hard to find. And I'm not going to call them out because I'm afraid of that causing the market to get manipulated a little or make it a little more difficult for me to get said games. So I'll hold that close to the vest at the moment. Which game resale did you make the most bank off of? Good question. Let me think about that for a bit. Is all collectors, you buy and you sell a lot to keep your bankroll for your collection, right? And I've been doing this, let's see now, it's 2025. I've been doing this kind of seriously, I want to say for about 20 years. So that's a lot of memories of pickups, of things I've bought, things I've sold, 20 years worth. To answer your question, because I can, what game will you mind if I give the answer in a lot of them or a grouping of them, if you don't mind? Because I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt what the answer would be if you'll accept what pickup did you resell to make most bank? And the answer to that is, assuming you're cool with that, I'm sure you are. Again, I used to live on in a different part of Florida than I do now. I had an in with a company that was just a warehouse that did surplus, buying surplus like equipment from schools, businesses, you name it, like soup to nuts. Long story short, I get a call from the proprietor of this warehouse who knew I was into not just video games, but adjacent to that, like old vintage computers like Commodore, Atari. And in this case, he had a something related, not NASA, but like related to research of like weather and atmospheric stuff. And he had a 13 or 14 computers, old computers that he wanted to get rid of. And he didn't know much about them. He's not a computer guy. He asked me to come down and look at them. I said, sure, I'll do that. So at the time I had a big SUV and I made sure it was empty. I'm glad I did. I went down there, and I don't know if you're familiar with Commodore computers. Commodore Amiga, probably the most desirable of the old Commodore computers. And in the Commodore Amiga line, one of the most desirable computers was the 1200, which was like a very slim line, like all-in-one type thing, like a Commodore 64 is like the keyboard. It's all in the one, like, thing. And they used some of those old Commodores, not just for games, like we all like them for the gaming and stuff. But they used them to put graphics on monitors, like overlays for, like, if you watch the news, you watch the weather, the weather maps and stuff are all drawn on a computer. Like, they were used for stuff like that. He had 13 of them, Amiga 1200s, fully like pimped out. He's like, I don't know what to do with these. You want them? I'm like, yes. And long story short, they ended up being worth about $1,500 a piece because they had all sorts of additional accelerators and parts and stuff. And he sold them to me for $10 a piece. He said, there was a couple of items. It was like, okay, now give me $150. And you take the 13 computers, and there's a couple of monitors and some bullshit there. And I was like, ooh, it's like a transcendent moment. I got them home. It was easy to get them all running. They were all running fine, cleaned them up. Sold them at least between 1,000. I think one of them was 1,700 because I had all the good stuff. So I made, I don't know, like 12, 13 grand off that deal, all inside of a week. They were all gone in a week. It was like, that was super popular. So there you go. There you go. That's the answer. That was the biggest profit I ever had on a video gaming adjacent tech flip. So yeah. Did you ever find out you bought a fake game later on? Yes, I did. As a matter of fact, the most famous example would be GameStop. I used to enjoy. I would go, take yard sale finds. Like, I'd find cheap games and stuff, and I would trade them into GameStop for trade credit. So, like, for example, I go to yard sale and I'd find like this is years ago. I know the values aren't the same today, right? Like Halo 4 was like there was a time where you get like $20 in trading credit for Halo 4. So you go to yard sale and you find them for like $1 because a soccer mom just they had it bought, the kid didn't like it, and whatever, too lazy to deal with it. So I'd find stuff like that and trade in GameStop, and I'd build up a lot of trade credit. And this is going number of years back to the first time they were doing retro games on GameStop, right? This is a number of years ago. And they had, of course, one of the big problems was counterfeit games. And so I had saved up a couple $100 in trade credit. It was like $200 or $300. And I bought a copy that was advertised as Bubble Bobble 2, the NES game Bubble Bobble 2, and ordered it. And sure enough, it arrives in the mail. I open it up and I see a cartridge with a label that looked like it was printed off of an inkjet printer and like super glued onto the cartridge. It was the fakest label I've ever seen in my entire life. It was ridiculous. I'm like, okay, well, curious to see what happens when I put this in the NES. I'm like, well, what's it going to play? I mean, it's probably not Bubble Bobble 2. I put it in, and the game was F-15 Strike Eagle. So he took, and it's a mid-common, like a $10 game. Someone took an F-15 Strike Eagle cartridge, I guess peeled the label off, and printed the shittiest, photocopy, or they probably printed off the internet of the label, put it on, traded it into a GameStop, because obviously that didn't just apparate in GameStop's warehouse. Somebody obviously had to trade it into a store, and the employee's like, "Yep, that looks solid. There you go." And then I sold it. So now, long story short, my local GameStop was super cool about it. They kind of understood there was a lot of counterfeiting. They took it back. I did get my money back. The postscript to that, before I gave them the return, I left a review of Bubble Bobble 2 on the GameStop's website and app. I don't think it's still there anymore. But that story and the receipts, the pictures and all that is actually featured on an episode of the CU podcast, Pat the NES Punk's podcast. I sent Pat the pictures and the whole story, and he did a story about it on a show. So I don't remember which episode it was, and I know that information is not going to be enough to get you which episode it was, but it was an old episode, and maybe I'll hunt it down and find a link to it at some point. But yeah, I got sold a fake ass Bubble Bobble 2 by GameStop. I took it in good stride, and I made content out of it. That's what you do, right? You sold a fake ass game, you make content out of it. You call the police. If you're a modern YouTuber, you talk about the shady business practices of that store. Perhaps you consider calling your district attorney. No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't go that far. Complete opposite game. Yeah, so that's the idea. So here's the reason why they did that. Like, here's the motivation. They probably got that game for like $5 and spent $1 or $2 in, art supplies to put the fake label on, knowing that the GameStop employee wasn't going to have an NES deck in hand and was just going to take it as an article of faith. And the trade value back then on with the high dollar games, like there was a max trade value you could get, which was $35. So the perpetrator, probably spent $5 or $6 on this and got $35 out of it. So it was the perfect crime at that time. So that was why you had this problem. And obviously not just NES, but all the Game Boy and GBA games, all that stuff like that. But it was profitable for the people that were doing this because it was easy and there was no training from the employees' parts. And so there you go. I mean, it just sort of happens like that. I love these questions, by the way. These are maybe this is like you're interviewing me to see, is this a streamer I want to follow on any regular basis? I hope I'm doing well in my enjoying my strictly totally only mango juice only, I swear. I think I bought fake labels on games, but the chips look legit. So that's the thing. You can't just think of the chips only. You're right. You have to look at the totality of the situation. It's and here's the thing. I hate to say this, but it's getting harder and harder as time goes on to spot the fakes, because now you don't have to make them yourself. It's not an art project. You can go and buy them from like AliExpress and the overseas places that sell these things without any repercussions. And at the end of the day, it's just reality. I mean, I'm not trying to help people commit crimes, but you can buy them cheaper than what GameStop is giving in trade credit. And that's why this problem exists, is people are doing arbitrage of these illicit marketplaces and, taking advantage of the less trained people that take these in. You don't really have this problem in professional independent retro game stores. They're almost always completely trained and can spot fakes a mile away and would not be kind to taking in those. So you don't really see that problem much. It's the GameStops where you're dealing with people who are not retro gamers. The average look, we're going to be honest with ourselves. The average GameStop employee wasn't even born yet when NES came out. So you can't necessarily expect them to be a maven at spotting a fake, dodgy NES game from a mile off. And so it is what it is, right? Do I collect PSA cards and trading card games? No. No, I don't. I used to when I was a kid. I was into baseball cards in the 80s. And back in if you were a kid a teenager in the 80s, um, they really made you think that you were going to be rich as an investor. They sold baseball cards in the mid 80s as a big investment because baseball cards blew up in popularity in the mid 80s. So up until about 1983, 1984, is an example. They didn't make a billion sets of Topps baseball cards every year. It's about 1984 when that whole craze popped off and everyone was buying baseball cards, not to put in little sleeves or binders or to trade with their neighbors, but to put them like in storage, keep, invest in sealed cases. And that's when Topps and Fleer and all the other card companies decided, okay, well, now we're going to make a gazillion of them. Completely flooded the market and crashed it. That's why when you talk about the baseball cards and sports cards from the 80s and the 90s, it's called the junk wax era because they made so many of the damn things that they're basically junk now. You can find like brand new unopened boxes and cases of 1988 Topps baseball cards for nothing because there's so gosh darn many of them. They're junk. But I never really fell back into it. I would not buy any kind of sealed card packs anymore. I'm done. You won't convince me because of the rise of the technology that exists now where people have these, what's the word? MRI scanners that can see basically every card in a pack. Forget the fact that some people will weigh Pokemon packs and all that shady bullshit. Now there's, you can't, I don't have any trust in a sealed pack of anything anymore. I assume that it's been cherry picked. And I said earlier in the stream, the saying I said, if you don't know who the sucker is at the table, you're the sucker. Same thing applies here. Just my opinion. I'm not saying that you're doing a bad thing or you're wrong for enjoying collecting cards. You can absolutely enjoy them to your heart's content. I would strongly advise on not looking at them as an investment vehicle or having any expectation that you are going to get product when you open those packs that is worth more than you spend. Consider yourself extremely lucky if you do. So I'll leave it at that. I won't get all preachy. No one likes preachy. So there you go. All right. So I'll tell you what. I was expecting a little half-hour stream, but I love the fact that a little crowd has formed. I enjoy your company. I hope you're enjoying this. I'm probably going to kind of wrap this up a little bit here. I hope that you'll come back again. Please consider subscribing to my channel so you get some notice. Again, I would like to do this a couple times a week. In the evenings, have a stream on the channel where we can kind of freeform talk about whatevs, as they say, adjacent to gaming, mostly retro gaming, but I'll talk modern gaming too, things of that nature. Whatever the topics of the day that everyone's drawn about, I'll join in. Maybe we'll play some games. I know this thing has I know this StreamYard thing here has the ability I could stream playing some games too, so we'll do that as well. Maybe have some articles lined up. Yes, that's exactly the plan here. This was a tech demo. This was me testing to make sure that the stuff that I have for streaming all works properly, and I feel like the audio is good. I like how I look here, more or less. I might freshen it up a little bit, but just making sure it all kind of works. But absolutely, you're right. There will be a more formal preparation of topics and things that we can expand on, and maybe it's like a 90-minute 2-hour stream again, maybe a few times a week. And there you go. What is something that not many people know about you? Oh boy, we could how long do you got? We could go on for a long time. Boy, that's a loaded one. what's a random thing to pick out? Man, not many people know about me. When I was, I feel like I want to say 5th grade, 6th grade, I delivered newspapers. So, all right, this goes back because obviously I'm showing my age here, but there was the concept of having a newspaper route back in the 80s. So, what kids would do to earn money is they would deliver newspapers. So, basically, you would have all the newspapers for the 3 or 4 blocks around you, plunked down on your front lawn, and you'd go and take a big canvas bag and a bicycle, and you'd deliver the newspapers to everyone's house, and they'd pay you on a weekly basis, the individual people. Obviously you would get a little commission. There was tips, all that good stuff. So there was motivation. So I delivered newspapers, and I did it up until I was about 15. And the retirement of my newspaper journey was when I was bitten by a dog. There's a house that they had a dog, and they didn't do a very good job of keeping it penned up, I guess. And it came out and it bit me. Not a huge thing, but like enough to draw blood. And it was certainly a minor injury. At the time, I was definitely traumatized. And my parents, God bless my parents, they were very savvy here. Obviously, I went to the local medical facility and got treated. I had to have the rabies shot and all that. And then the next call was with an attorney. On my behalf, my parents sued the folks that had the dog that bit me. And long story short, I got a substantial amount of financial compensation. I stopped doing the papers because I was traumatized at that point anyway. In that settlement, when I turned 16, bought me my first car. So my first car that I had was the result of getting bitten by a dog. It was a Ford LTD. For those wondering, if you want the deets on that, it was a 1986 silver Ford LTD, used, obviously, that I purchased. And I drove the shit out of the car. I think I drove that up until about senior year of high school, when I blew the head gasket going down Interstate 91, and I lived in Connecticut. Not the place, by the way, that you want to blow your head gasket out. That was bonus information that you didn't ask for. But I survived that because I'm here today. There you go. I hope you're glad you asked. And in future streams, I'll continue on with more and more of that. Sounds good, man. Have a good news. Good night. Thank you, Not Sure. Thank you for coming by. I hope you enjoyed. I hope to see you again at some point soon. I'm going to wrap it up as well. I've got some things I want to get to. Thank you so much for coming to my TED Talk. I hope you enjoyed our conversation about GameStop and then our expanded conversation about everything else under the sun. I am Doug. This is It's All Doug in Games. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't done so already. And again, that'll get you the Iggy and when I will be streaming again. And I hope to see you all again. Have a great, happy New Year's. Be safe, be fun, go forth, game everyone. I don't know. Maybe that's my outro. I don't know what my outro is, but thanks everyone. Take care, everyone. Good night.